Good afternoon, everybody, and it is time for the NBA playoffs. So, first round, Portland and Golden State. So, Golden State was interesting. They signed Kevin Durant in the offseason, and some people could have thought they could have won 73, 74 games, but that did just not work out. For one reason, Kevin Durant got hurt on February 18th in Washington. So, here's kind of what happened. So, right around that same time, Curry just stopped shooting, went 0 for 11 against Philadelphia on the 27th of February, and then just kept missing, kept missing, kept missing. It went on for about 2 weeks, and then, as I just said earlier, Durant went down, but now Curry's shooting 50% since St. Patrick's Day, and Klay Thompson's shooting 44%. And it wasn't certain if they'd be the number one seed. We're thinking Curry and Thompson are just not shooting. Oh no, they lost 3 in a row. Are they going to fall to 2? Since at the time the Spurs were obviously looked like they're going to catch them. Were playing their best basketball of the year. And then you're thinking, okay, now they're going to lose to the Rockets in the second round. I don't know if anyone else was thinking that. I was thinking that, since here's why: the Rockets are just going to outshoot them the way they were playing, and Durant's not going to be 100% and all that for just a second round loss. Well, that was the very worst case scenario. I was really worried about them, but then they went on a 13 game winning streak. Curry was playing like an MVP level again. Thompson played the best he has all year, and then Iguodala, who is getting a lot of six-man of the year votes right now, started shooting 61% and was just great off the bench for them. He really stepped up, and the offense is the best in the league, no doubt. And look, their defense, it was incredible. Durant was there. It was the best in the league, so they were just a completely dominant team. And when he went hurt, they were still figuring out what to do on defense. It was a little down, and still is great. And if you want to look at Draymond Green, his numbers, they're down this year. Like, he may not average as many points a game. Maybe his assists are slightly down. His rebounds might be slightly down. But he's still going to get a lot of triple-doubles. He's at the very top of the league with 5 win shares. He's their best defender. Draymond Green is still great. Numbers don't always mean everything. So when you look at his team now, as we'll get to Portland in a minute, Durant is back. Curry's playing much better. Thompson's playing the best he has all year. This team is the favorite to win the finals right now. I don't like the way Cleveland's playing. I just feel like San Antonio and Houston aren't quite good enough to beat them. So let's get on to Portland. So, look, Damian Lillard, he carried their offense along with McCollum. He scored 27 a game. So what Lillard's going to do is he's going to could take 20 shots a game. Some nights he's going to shoot 33%. He's going to struggle. Other nights he might score 50, like he scored 59 a week ago. Damian Lillard and McCollum are their offense. That is it. They don't have anyone else. No one can score anywhere close to the level they can. I mean, they're the 2 best players on the team. Their backcourt's one of the best in the league, but they really don't have anyone else to really step up. That was it, and kind of like last year. Of course, this year they're an 8 seed. Last year they were a 5 seed. Since the Western Conference, the bottom pack was a lot weaker than it is this year. So what happened is they were as much as 10 games below 500, and then they got hot, similar to last year. They get hot just to get into the playoffs. They've done that the last 2 years. And they are stricken with cap problems. They gave all that money to Alan Crabb. They gave all that money to Evan Turner. So, another problem they have. Their defense is terrible. Now, one addition I want to mention is Jusuf Nurkic. So he averaged 10 and 15, but he's now hurt. Doesn't look like he'll come back for the playoffs. And, Alan Crabb, who I mentioned a minute earlier, he's one of the better three-point shooters in the league. But he's averaging just 10 points a game, so we'll only do it in small bunches. He's not going to score 15, 20 points a game. He's not a 6-year candidate. And look, Here's my take on this series. It's going to be a short series. Durant is back. Curry is back. Thompson's back. They seem like they're all at their best. And Lillard and McCollum are not that great of defenders, so you really can't guard them. I mean, maybe you can put Aminu. He's a good defender on Durant, but that's not going to do a whole lot good at all. Aminu just can't score. There's no really big man that can score for them right now. Look, as I said a minute ago, the Warriors are finals favorites of the full team. The Warriors win in 4. Maybe 5 if Lillard goes out of his mind, scores 45, and McCollum scores 30, and maybe it's a 120 to 115 shootout since the Warriors are average on offense, kind of what they averaged this year. So this is not going to be a long series. Really, it's going to be a sweep. I mean, there's no one else on the floor even close for the Blazers, close to Lillard or McCollum. Short series. Okay, Memphis and San Antonio. This is a rematch. Last year, Memphis, Conley went down. Randolph went down. And then Gasol went down. Every key player they had got hurt. So now, Conley's back. He's their best scorer and passer and shooter. Marc Gasol's having the best year of his career. He's out of the three-point shot to his game, averaging 19 points a game. They're by far their 2 best players. So when you look at it, they're a top 5 defense. That's been their culture for the past 5 years. They've always been great at defense, but offense is a weakness for them, especially shooting. 29th in scoring. Only team worse is the Jazz. We'll get to them a little bit later. So, again, Marc Gasol, it's surprising. He's 7'1", but only averages 6.3 rebounds a game. Part of it could be since he's spending more time outside, so the offensive rebound total may be down. Like I said, here's an interesting number. 266. Previous career high, 17. Almost 17 squared. And now you look at Zach Randolph. Look, he can come off the bench. He's a good rebounder, good scorer off the bench. His numbers are down from what they were in the past. Used to be a 20-10 guy consistently. He's getting old. Look, you have Tony Allen, who just got hurt and don't even know if he's going to play in the series. He's one of the better defenders in the league from the perimeter. And he can't really score, so there you go. The guy you might guard, say, Kawhi Leonard. Well, he's not here anymore. And, one signing that at the time, I'm sure people doubted it. I was thinking they have Chandler Parsons. Oh, good. Maybe he'll be a good scorer for them. Maybe he'll help them shoot, something that they just have not done in the past. Maybe he makes them a better team. Well, it turns out he's been out for the year. It was terrible. Averaged only 3 points, only 6 points a game. His 3-point percentage was in the 20s, field goals in the 30s. He was terrible. And they don't really have anyone. I mean, look, the Grizzlies are better than they were last year. They're not like a D-League team as when they got into the playoffs. And so, look, Grizzlies, easy sweep. They're going to be swept by the Spurs. 5 games of a miracle happens. So let's talk about San Antonio. Now you look at Kawhi Leonard. Wow. He's improved his offense every year. He'll have stretches where he'll score 30, 35 a night for 5, even 10 games in a row. And he also has great defense. His 3-point shot, it's about as good as it's ever been. Kawhi Leonard is an MVP candidate. Yes. Is he going to win? Probably not. I think he's going to finish in 3rd place, maybe 4th. So, look, the Spurs are an outstanding defensive team. And with the Grizzlies being terrible at offense, there's no way that's another reason why they may not win the series. The Spurs have a much better offense. And their defense is just that much better. I mean, look, so when you look at series of 4, maybe 5 games, there may be some blowouts, like 118 to 84. There's going to be some brutal blowouts in this series. And then maybe it'll be a defensive battle where it's 92 to 88 Spurs or something. That's the only way I see it going 5 games. The Grizzlies somehow get lucky. And then you look at LaMarcus Aldridge, so his numbers are about what they usually are. Maybe a little down. 17 points, 7 rebounds, great post player. Player they add in Pau Gasol. He's not as good as he used to be. Look, he's going to score and rebound off the bench. Great three-point shooter. It's a small sample size, but his percentage is .536, not enough to qualify. So look, Gasol, he's really going to help them on offense. Defense is going to stretch the floor. And then you bring in someone else like David Lee, get in the post, will score 60%. Manu Ginobili, look, he's not going to be the sixth man of the year candidate that he was in the past, but he might come in, bring some energy to this team. He's been there for 15 years. Guys like Patty Mills, he can shoot 41%. Great shooter off the bench. He's going to bring some scoring off the bench. So look, what they did is Duncan retired, which was no longer the same player, just he was a key piece, and people wondered, where does that leadership go? I think it's now in Kawhi Leonard since Ginobili's about to retire. And they built a solid team around him, a mix of shooting and defense, basic fundamentals. And you build it around Leonard. I mean, they're not going to be the team they were in the finals when they beat the Heat 3 years ago. They're going to pass. It's going to be a lot of isolations. They might throw it in the post to Aldridge. Might take 5 seconds. Leonard will certainly run some isolations. So while their offense is great, they play a great brand of basketball. It may not look like it did 3 years ago, and that's okay, since they are the team that has the best shot to knock off the Spurs. So this is going to be a pretty quick series. I don't see the Grizzlies having much of a chance. So now we'll get to Rockets Thunder. You know what? We're going to talk about Russell Westbrook for a little bit. So look, Russell Westbrook is the best player in this game right now. Now, you could say LeBron, you could say Harden. In my opinion, as of right now, it's Westbrook for what he did. He carried the team. No one was close to an all-star. And what he did was he averaged a triple-double. Yes, he was chasing rebounds at times and so on. But he did what hasn't been done in 55 years. And look at this. Here's what to show of why he's carrying a team. 58 points on March 7th against the Blazers. And they still lost. I watched the entire game. No one else could really do anything. It was all him. 49 points to the Rockets, and they lose. 46 points against the Hawks, they lose. Happened in December and January. And then, here's the best part. They played against the Warriors. It was Durant's turn to Oklahoma City. Had a near triple-double. He scored 47 points. I mean, you were watching, you're like, wow, Durant. Oh, I have Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry and Iguodala and Green and so on and so on. And Russell Westbrook, he didn't have anyone. He scored 47 points by himself, and they still lost by 16. It shows how much better the Warriors are than the Thunder. And here's back-to-back days. 3-2, 3-3. Had 93 points. And he had a triple-double in one of the games, and they lost both times. And here's what he did just last week. He scored 50 points, had a triple-double, and he had a three-pointer at the buzzer to beat the Nuggets by 1. That is carrying. That's like he's carrying 1,000 pounds every day. He has to constantly do that over and over and over again. How do you keep doing that? He's got to be tired now. And now he has to play against James Harden in the playoffs. And James Harden has a huge advantage, as we'll get to that in a minute. Here are his numbers. 32 points. 10 plus rebounds. 10 plus assists. And look, he may be chasing rebounds, but he'll grab a rebound and then fly down in the paint and score, get to the line. He goes 100% all the time, and the rest of the team isn't that good. That's the consequences, as what we'll get to in a few minutes. He is carrying the team. There's no one else to go to So he has to do it all by himself. Something that we have not seen since LeBron James in 2007. They went all the way to the finals. Allen Iverson in 2001 went to the finals. And Tracy McGrady was supposed to be helped by Grant Hill, but was always hurt. And he had to carry those Orlando Magic teams all by himself in the early to mid 2000s. And also, Russell Westbrook, he has 13 win shares. Maybe it was 13.8. So he single-handedly helped them win 13, 14 games. So they go from a 35-win team without him, maybe 30, and then they go from 45, 50 with him. And when you look at what Russell Westbrook did this year, that was the maximum amount. He did the absolute max, and they were a 47-win team. That shows how bad the rest of the team is. It really does. I mean, some people say, I don't want to hear it. They have some tools. Well, your second best player is Victor Oladipo. Who's your third best player? Steven Adams. And he's not that great of a shooter, but who do you rely on to shoot? They can't shoot either. So Russell Westbrook has to do it. It's not like James Harden where he can pass it to Lou Williams, Trevor Ariza, Eric Gordon, and so on. He can't do that. So he has to shoot himself. There's no one else to shoot. It is all him. All completely him. Now let's go into another scenario. So going back to earlier, LeBron and AI, what they did in 2001 and 2007. The league was less competitive. Yes, Allen Iverson, which was remarkable, carried the 01 Sixers to 56 wins. But again, less competitive. And along the playoffs, he beat Vince Carter and Ray Allen, who were in their primes. And they were very good players, but not the great players that Russell Westbrook, as we'll get to as he's about to face. And LeBron James, he won 52 games. He went all the way to the finals. Granted, he beat a bad Wizards team that was really short-handed. In the playoffs, beat the Nets. They still had Carter and Kidd, still a good team. And what he did against the Pistons, he came down from down 0-2, and of course Game 5, we'll never forget. And he lost in the finals, so what it shows is you can't win a finals by yourself. And Russ won 47 games, which is good for 6 in the Eastern Conference. So what those players did is 56 wins today in the West. That would be good enough for only 4th place. 52, that would be 4th place. But in their leagues, they're always 1st or 2nd in their conference. And Russell Westbrook is in 6th place. So, look, Russ has to beat James Harden. And Russell Westbrook, he's going to be doing this all by himself. Well, James Harden's like someone's chasing after him. It's like, oh, here you go, Trevor Ariza. You're wide open. Oh, there's Lou Williams. Oh, there's Eric Gordon. Oh, there's Patrick Beverly. Oh, there's Ryan Anderson. And it just goes on forever. That's what Houston's built to do. And the front office of Oklahoma City, as a consequence, did not provide him with shooters. He's playing with a bunch of non-shooters while him himself is not that good of a shooter. And this is going to be a challenge, huh? So James Harden's first, right? Okay. Next round, assume they win. Assume the Spurs win. Kawhi Leonard, and lifetime against Kawhi Leonard, shoots just 40% from the field. Other games he's been even worse than that. And here's one other thing to try to put in. Kawhi Leonard in the past had to deal with Kevin Durant. So while the Spurs, yes, are a great defensive team, someone like Kawhi Leonard was also guarding Durant, right? And Westbrook still struggled. So think how bad it was when Leonard was on him. And this is going to be a whole series. And how are you going to beat Kawhi Leonard by yourself? Kawhi Leonard has much better talent. I don't know how he's going to pull it off. How does it even happen? Okay, maybe you somehow did that. Oh, now you have to play against Kevin Durant, the same person who ditched you so he could have the easiest path in the history of the world to winning a championship. Oh, now there's Steph Curry. He's won the past 2 MVPs. Best shooter of all time. Oh, Klay Thompson. probably another top 5 shooter of all time. Oh, Draymond Green, oh, he'll guard you too. And so on. How are you going to do that? And then, maybe you somehow do that. You beat the same player, your former teammate, who ditched you, so he could win a championship. Apparently he thought, you know what? I can win a championship with the Warriors. I don't think I'll ever win a championship with you, Russ. So then, say Russ wins. Now, you have to play against LeBron James, maybe the greatest player ever, and LeBron has much better talent around him than Russell Westbrook. So look, this is a bunch of what ifs. I don't think any of them are going to happen. Any of them are going to happen. Now, if he loses to James Harden, I'll have 100% sympathy for him. James Harden will be finding a bunch of open three-point shooters, and their shooting advantage will help them. Well, Russ just has to do everything. No one's going to shoot. So, if he does this, it'll be the greatest accomplishment in sports history. If he wins the championship. I'm saying it's very unlikely. I don't think he's going to win in the first round for various reasons. And I want Russell Westbrook to win the championship. I'm rooting for him. Other people may be rooting for the Warriors once. Other people are rooting for LeBron. People are rooting for the Rockets. The Spurs once again. Some people are hoping Boston wins another championship. But me, personally, I want Russ to win the championship. He deserves it. Certainly does after what happened in the past. But I'm sorry. Kevin Durant ditched you so he could win the easiest championship ever. So now you have to win the hardest NBA Finals ever. It's not your fault that Durant ditched you. And you will not get the opportunity since the rest of the team is a 30-win team. 30 wins. You're putting a great player on a bad team. And Durant said, I can't win without you. I would rather beat you. So that means that Kevin Durant did something that Benedict Arnold did, or Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars, where he turned to the dark side. Since you know why? They really wanted this one thing. And they figured out in their current situation, they couldn't do it. So all three of them did what was easiest for them. So Kevin Durant does the easiest path ever, really. Joining the Golden State Warriors, someone who won 73 games, who really should have won the finals last year. Now you make it guaranteed. And now you put the other player in the hardest position that you can. I mean, sure, when he left, he wasn't thinking, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it hard on Russ. But he wanted to make it easier for him to win a championship. And while that move is criticized, I'm criticizing it right now. I think it was a weak move. Many people think it was. Look, he's doing just what LeBron James did 6 years earlier. Ditching that team where he's beloved by the fans. The greatest thing that ever happened to that organization. And he's leaving since he figured out he couldn't win there. And look, I'm not happy with Durant for what he did, putting Russ in that situation. But he didn't do it just to do it to Russ. He did it so he could win a championship. And the reason why Russ is going to have such a hard time is he's going to play against top 5 players in the NBA. James Harden is a top 5 player, surrounded by talent that fits him the best way it possibly could. Now he has to play against Kawhi Leonard, great on both sides of the ball. Then he has to play against the Warriors. Maybe 2 out of the best 5 players in the league, who have won 3 out of the past 4 MVPs, heavy favorites to win the finals, and then, assuming the Cavs win the conference, against LeBron James. And that is going up against a bunch of Hall of Famers. And teams, they can do what the Thunder can't. They can shoot. They're a much deeper team. And they have to beat them. And look, It's very unlikely it's going to happen, but I'm saying what if? What the path is. So, if Russell Westbrook does this, you make an argument he's the greatest player of all time. As of right now, I'm saying he's not. He's not the greatest player of all time. He's a great player and deserves to be an all-time great for what he's done throughout his career. And if he pulls it off, I think there's a small possibility, just assuming everything goes perfectly. But I don't think he's going to get out of the first round. So, I give him credit for taking the Thunder to the playoffs. And look, when the MVP voting is final, you look at all the past MVPs, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James in recent memory, have all played in the finals or made deep playoff runs. Where Russell Westbrook, he's more than likely to lose in the first round, and that's unfortunate. So if I had an MVP vote, I would vote for him. So we've been talking about Russell Westbrook for a while and how what he has to do and how the kind of what him and Durant and all that stuff. So let's just talk about the rest of the Thunder now. Victor Oladipo, he has some good tools. Can score 15 points, maybe 20. He's a good shooter. And good defender. Those are some good tools to have. But he's the second best player on the team. That might be the third best player on a really good team. Maybe the fourth best. He has good tools. I like him. But just does not fit the content for a team which Russ really wants to win a championship. I'm sure the team does, but it's just not possible with that kind of talent. And you have Alex Abrines, he's a good shooter. 38%. But does not play much. Starts some. Will hit occasional threes. But not really good enough to do that consistently. Doug McDermott, now when they got him, that was a good move. And look, he can shoot. He never became the scorer that he was in college. Had some good games, but is more inconsistent. Some games it seems like he hardly ever plays at all. And in the playoffs, he has to be that shooter. He has to be that man in order to catch up with Houston, and he can't do it single-handedly from shooting. And you look at Andre Roberson. Oh, he's a good defender. He may be guarding James Harden. That's great. Maybe Harden will be limited. But guess what? He's the worst offensive player in the NBA. He can't score at all. That's a problem. And for someone like Russ, there's someone staying wide open in the corner, but he can't shoot. He's the worst offensive player in the NBA. He does not fit the system. He'd fit better as a bench player on a team that really needs defense that already has a lot of offense. Just doesn't fit. I mean, last year, yeah, he could kind of do nothing on offense and play some good defense, give Russ and Durant a little bit of a rest on the other end of the floor, but guess what? You can't be that type of player on a team like that. So he's a complete liability on offense. So what? He'll play good defense, but he's not going to help change the factor of the series. And Domantas Sabonis. I like him. He can rebound, looks like a good shooter. I've seen him take a lot of threes. But he's only a rookie. He's too inconsistent. He's not ready for this yet. And Steven Adams, he's going to get better and better. He's going to be a key player on this team when Russell Westbrook, if he decides to stay for the next 2 or 3 years, he's going to get better and better. Tries very hard, which could be great in a physical playoff series. He's going to be great in the paint. He's the guy who Russ likes to look for inside. And I feel like he's the best big man in this series. And then you also have Taj Gibson. He was a good pickup. He's definitely helped out in the post. But not surrounding shooting with Russell Westbrook just makes it that much harder. Now, if he had guys like what James Harden had, it would be much easier. That's just not going to be the case. So now let's move on to Houston. So the Rockets, they are a team that likes to shoot. As I went on about the Thunder earlier, they are the exact opposite. They will shoot. They will make more threes and attempt more. One game they took 64. Other games they took numbers in the 50s. They've hit 24 threes in a game. They've broken all sorts of records, single game, for attempts, makes, season, whatever, every single record imaginable. And their percentage, man, it's not world class, it's right in the middle. So, someone like James Harden is surrounded by great shooters, and he's a very good shooter himself. Full tip 9 threes a game. Gordon 9. 37%. I think he's going to be the sixth man of the year. Ryan Anderson, 40%. So you have all these guys with the ability to shoot. Guys like Gordon, guys like Williams, guys like Anderson, and so on and so on. So when Harden's being chased, being double teamed, he has guys defined. The Rockets are going to shoot great this series. And now you put in a guy like Trevor Ariza. He's a good defender, and he can shoot too. Now, Lou Williams, let's talk about him. He was great for the Lakers. Terrible team, kind of giving them something to cheer about each game, bringing them excitement. He has just been way down, 31%, other than that great game he had against the Thunder. He can get hot at any moments, but he's not been a great playoff performer in the past. So, the question is with Lou Williams. Is he the guy who's going to shoot 20% from 3 and score 10 points a game? Or is this going to be the period of the year where he's just hot? He's scoring 20, 25. He's the best shooter in the league at this point. He's also one of the better scorers. He's just on. So which one is it? I don't know. Now let's get more into James Harden. So he's a top 2 MVP candidate. A lot of people think he's going to win it. He's definitely going to finish second, no matter who wins. So what he does, he gets tons of assists, leads the league at about 11. So what he does is he might drive inside, find someone open, or will pass, do anything, give it to Capella. There you go, we'll get to the foul line. Look, he contributes to 50 points per game. From finding open shooters, to getting to the line, to knocking down threes himself, hitting jump shots. He can do it all. He's the best offensive player in the league. And unlike OKC, if he's double teamed or really being guarded, doesn't know what to do, can find someone open. And it also helps he's being coached by Mike D'Antoni, who ran the 7 seconds or less for years in Phoenix. I think this is the best D'Antoni's coached in 10 years. Their offense, they score 114 points a game, second best in the league. Their pace is outstanding. And the decision to bring in guys who can shoot, that was a great call. That's just what the Rockets do. And really for Harden, this system's about as perfect as can be, has the perfect coach. And with the Rockets' ability to shoot, I think that they can make a run at the finals. They will, if they can get past San Antonio, they will compete with the Warriors. Will be a lot of great offensive shootouts. Some of the best offense we've ever seen this late in the playoffs, maybe in NBA history. It's going to be incredible. And that's not it. They have someone like Clint Capella backed up Dwight Howard the past couple of years. He's an athletic paint player. He's solid in the paint. Good defender. He'll rebound for them. And then they have some guys off the bench like Nene and Montrezl Harrell who are great inside. Pretty good rebounders and limited action. So, looking at the talent, if you look at the point guards, it's pretty much split on even. You can't even think of anything else. It's just dead even. And then when you go to shooting guards and the rest of the floor, the Rockets are more talented outside of that. So if you took away each superstar, Russ, James Harden, you can't play. We're going to have everyone else play against each other. I think the Rockets would win due to their shooting ability. And that's the main difference. So, finally, it's going to be a great series. The Rockets will outshoot the Thunder, which will make the difference. And they will go into 6 games. It will be classic. There will be great duels. Some of the greatest duels in NBA history. It will be one of the most fun first-round series in recent memory. It will be a series that you can't miss at all. It's just going to be incredible, but in the end, Rockets in 6. So as we enter our final portion of the Western Conference podcast, let's go now to the Jazz Clippers. So let's start out with the Clippers. So this is year 6 for them. Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin all start out with Lob City. And it's kind of slowing down a little bit. And guys like Paul and Griffin, past couple of years have had injuries. And in the playoffs, it's really messed them up against Portland. And again, in the regular season, Paul was hurt for a stretch. So was Blake Griffin. Kind of in the heart of winter, December, January, February. And Blake Griffin, his numbers are about the same as usual. 20, 22, 8, 10 rebounds, all the same. But something that's different this year is he's starting to develop the three-point shot, which could be crucial in the playoffs. Teams have to chase him outside, and slower big man that have a hard time guarding him inside are going to have to chase him outside, which that's going to be a benefit. It's going to help Chris Paul out. Might take pressure off on some of their other shooters like Redick, Jamal Crawford. So let's talk about Chris Paul. His numbers are usual again. He's a leader. His toughness is going to be great in this playoff series, especially going up against a very tough Utah Jazz defensive team, best defense in the league. And look, this is a critical postseason for Chris Paul. It's not his fault that the teams couldn't advance far, but this is, well, I just say it's critical for the entire Clipper organization. DeAndre Jordan, great rebounder. That's going to be key for him. The Jazz are going to have a very hard time scoring in the rim. There's not going to be a lot of inside scoring this series, especially going up against Gobert. So who would he guard? I guess he'd guard Gobert. Derek Favors is worse than he was in the past. So that'll be an interesting matchup. And then look, the bench, it's not that good. It's pretty good. Mo Spaints, again, he was a key part on some of the Warriors finals teams. He'll go inside and outside off the bench. He'll bring some energy for them. And look, from all that team there is, I want to talk about Austin Rivers. He did a pretty good job of filling in for Chris Paul. Had one of the better years of his career. Look at guys like J.J. Redick, one of the best shooters in the league. And then you look at Jamal Crawford. He's won some Sixth Man of the Years. He could be critical to their scoring off the bench. He needs to have a great series. So, the Clippers, I think they're a little bit more talented, especially the starters. They can really win this series, but I feel like 2 years ago was their best shot. They really blew it against the Rockets, and I don't know when they'll ever get an opportunity like that, and they're going to have a very hard time. If they win this series, guess who's next? Golden State Warriors. So, let's talk about the Jazz. So, the Jazz, their defense is the best in the league. They've allowed 96 points a game. Best in the league by far. And Gordon Hayward, he continues to get better. He's averaging 22 points, 40% from deep. And one thing about Gordon Hayward is the Jazz, he's been with them for 7 years now. They had a good long rebuild. Took them about 4 years to get it done. And now he's going to be a free agent. So his decision is going to set them back. If he stays, I think they'll be Western Conference contenders. But if he leaves, they're going to have to figure something out, which I honestly don't know what they'll do if he leaves. And George Hill, you brought in a scoring point guard. That was a major weakness for them last year. And he shot 40% from three. A very solid pickup. He's definitely missed some games this year. He's missed about 30. And Rudy Gobert, he's the most valuable player on the Jazz. Great rim protector, great rebounder, has a similar game to DeAndre Jordan, slightly better at offense. And the player I would let him match up against is he's going to guard Jordan when he's on the floor. He's their bigger, stronger defender. I don't think someone like Derek Favors could handle him at this point in the year been hurt. His production's down. But I would also think the guy you should guard the most is Blake Griffin when he's inside. Now, he might have to chase him some outside, which that's going to be a challenge. But if Blake Griffin decides to go inside throughout the series, in the paint, he'd be the guy who could lock down the best big man in the series. So Gobert is going to have to be on top of his game guarding two dominant big men. And let's talk about Derek Favors. So, look, Derek Favors, he's a good defender, but he's been hurt this year. His production's way down. His points are cut in half. His rebounds are about as low as they were in years. His win shares have been cut into thirds. His offensive win share barely registered. Is basically neutral on offense. In fact, in some ways has been hurting the offense. And if Favors, if he can just somehow reemerge in the playoffs, that'll be crucial for them. They kind of need him to step up. And then, one shooter they have is Joe Ingles, 44% from three. Look, that can be crucial for them. The Jazz, they don't really have a great shooter. I mean, Rodney Hood, very tall, plays shooting guard, power forward, small forward. He's a good shooter, but really is not an impact on rebounding like a lot of tall guys are. So that could be crucial. And then they've added some veterans. Joe Johnson, he's not going to score 20 to 25 a night. Make it 10, 12 points. Maybe bring them some offense off the bench. He's played on a lot of playoff teams throughout his career. They brought in other guys like Boris Diaw. Solid role player. In his prime, was a great passer. Can shoot the three. Nah, he's okay at it, not great. Would still keep an eye on that out. And has been on many great Spurs teams. So guys like Johnson and Diaw. That was a good decision to bring in guys like that who have had a lot of playoff experience. Know what the playoffs are like. And then, that's really the Jazz. I mean, who's better? Yes, Paul's a lot better than George Hill. I would take Gordon Hayward over anyone, any shooting guard or small forward. He's really the scorer. He's the best scorer in the playoffs. In the post, DeAndre and Gobert, slight advantage to Gobert. Is much better from the foul line, even though he isn't great at all. And a little better on offense, but basically even. That's going to be a fun matchup watching them go at it. Bench, meh. I'd go with the Jazz. So, look, the Jazz can win the playoffs if the Clippers have bad luck. Maybe Blake goes down again. Maybe Paul goes down. Maybe some key bench players go down. Maybe the Clippers just don't have it in this series at all, and their defense is just that good. But their only really starter who has a lot of playoff experience is George Hill. Yeah, he's on a lot of good Pacers teams in the past. He's even played on some Spurs teams. And no one else really in their starting lineup has much playoff experience. Gordon Hayward has a little bit. But that was very early in his career, when he really wasn't ready to contribute as their best player. So for the Clippers, I think really they have more of the experiential edge. They have more of a leader like Chris Paul, stuff like that. It's going to be a good series. It could go 7. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, but as of right now, I'm going to go with the Clippers. So, we just heard the Western Conference portion of the podcast. Next up is part 2, the Eastern Conference preview. And thank you for listening. A lot of games in the first round. A lot of good series, a lot of great players. And thank you for listening. And we will hear you next time.